Hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I just want to make sure everyone is taking good care of themselves and that you get out in nature somewhere. Don't forget to bring your family or your friends or even your furry friend, for a walk. They would really thank you. They love to go out for walks and sniff everything in sight. So they are so beautiful though. So anyway, before I get started, if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like it, please subscribe to my channel. So I want to talk to you, men and women, especially women and men, or men that are in relationships. And this video is to ask you, are you happy in your relationship you are in? That's very important. Kind of like a job. If you don't like your job, maybe you should get another one, where you can be fulfilled and happy. So that goes the same with relationships, where I've watched a lot of couples where they are miserable. They complain, about their loved one, and so it's a very sad thing when you see this, because they don't have to be in that state, be in that relationship, but before, you do anything, I don't want you to go and break up with your wife or your husband or boyfriend or girlfriend. But, if you are not happy with the one that you are with, first what you want to do is to, communicate with your loved one, whether they're a boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife, what's going on. You got to understand, why are you not happy? What's making you feel, is it you? Is there something wrong with you or the children? Or, maybe you don't love yourself enough. Maybe you need to find some time to love yourself more. Or, maybe the person you're with is rude to you or criticizes you and tears you up in verbally wise. Maybe they're verbally abusive to you, or maybe they're not honest. Maybe you didn't take enough time before you got together with a loved one to really get to know them. And there's a lot of people out there that are not even being them true selves. So maybe you did try to get to know them before you got with them, but maybe they deceived you. That definitely happened to me before. I got deceived and thought a man was a Christian. He was doing everything I was doing. We were both in different churches at the time, and I was out getting kids, bringing them to, picking them up on a van and bringing them to church. And that's how I met him, found him out, is that he was at his church, doing the same thing. And I'm like, I wasn't attracted to him, physically at all. It wasn't nothing to do on the outward appearance. You can ask my family. But it was because he was out doing the same thing I was doing. We were both very busy, involved in our churches that we were going to at the time. But I found out he was a false Christian. Once I got to really get to know who he was, I realized he was playing a Christian, at the church. And, later on, he was doing all these other things. And I'm like, uh-oh, I realized I got suckered in, believing that he was a Christian. And he did. He went to church all the time, did all kinds of stuff for the church. But he was a false Christian. He deceived me, and he wasn't being honest. And that does happen with couples. That's why you want to make sure you really get to know who they are before, you make that big commitment, especially if you got married to them. So if you are not happy and they did deceive you, and now you feel like, I'm miserable, maybe you're a guy and maybe you're out there looking at other women and thinking, man, looking at other couples, and maybe you're a woman, and you're like, Maybe he's been mistreating you or being abusive, or maybe he's neglect you. Maybe he's doesn't have any time in the beginning. Maybe he had time for you, and now he's working more hours. That's a red flag right there. If they're working more, now than they were before, are you chasing them away? Sometimes that can happen. Especially with, I have to pick on women a little bit on that, is, like, I actually did this when I was younger, but I learned the hard way, is that sometimes women can chase their men away, and you're probably thinking, how could I chase my man away? There's a lot of ways. Do you complain, and do you bitch and complain a lot? Really after a while that would get old to anybody, and sometimes men could be like that. Maybe you're the guy, that is bitching, complaining about, man, she doesn't clean the house, like I always got to pick up around her, she doesn't even want to cook meals anymore. Maybe, the problem is that they really don't love each other. Maybe your girlfriend or wife doesn't love herself, and a lot of that happens. Maybe she's gone through a lot of trauma in her life, and maybe she never really did love herself, even before you got with her. Or maybe him, maybe he doesn't really love himself like he used to, or maybe he got worse, or some people are depressed. Maybe they need some counseling or therapy so they can get healed. A lot of us need to get healed. And maybe you got with somebody that had some mental illnesses or disabilities or something. So you got to understand really what's going on with the person. Maybe you already know, if they were faithful or not, or maybe you don't trust them. So those are things that you have to really understand. If you don't trust them, really on that, it's just my opinion. I'm not going to tell you to leave your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, but if there's no trust, really, you might want to let them go, and don't jump right into a relationship, though. Like, spend some time with yourself, get to know who you are, before you even think about, like, wanting to have somebody else, because you're going to need time to heal from that relationship. So, if you're not happy, and I've known a lot of people, I've witnessed a lot of things in my life where people are miserable, but they live in the same house, and, maybe they got kids, and maybe they're grown up, and maybe they're out of the house now, where they're living together, and, maybe they don't even sleep in the same bed anymore, Now, I do understand some people do have health issues, and that's why they don't sleep in the same beds. But other times it's that there's no communication going on, and there's strife and envy, and there's hatred in their hearts towards their loved one. You might have hard feelings about your husband or your wife, boyfriend, or girlfriend. And what I was taught when I was going to church is not to go to bed angry. It's so important. Like, if you are upset, I've actually have had many times before where maybe I was offended by my loved one. Maybe he said some kind of cunning remark to me and made me feel bad. And, where maybe I didn't actually let him know, hey, you know what, you really said something that really didn't hit good with me. And, you offended me, and I didn't like what you said, and really I don't, what you said was just not right, because there's ways, you could say something to somebody or tell them something that, you might want to help them out with, but it doesn't have to be in a rude way, where that's a way a lot of people do, is they see something, maybe they see a shadow side in you, and they don't like it, and maybe they're jerks about it, and they're, can be a bitch about it, and, and those ways of wording stuff could really hurt your heart. And where a lot of couples, what they do is they don't let their loved one know about it. Instead, they might be silenced the whole day, and They might be rewinding what they said in their mind the whole entire day, no matter how hard they try to fight not to think about it. It just keeps on sneaking up in their head, and then they start feeling bad about themselves and start, like really not loving their loved one, and later on, this happens a lot, where, maybe a man did say something to his wife or his girlfriend, maybe it didn't come out of his mouth right, and maybe he said it with a rude tone of his voice, which happens a lot, where maybe he wasn't being sensitive to her feelings. Maybe he did want to say something, but it didn't come out right. Or even through texting. That's the worst way you want to communicate to your loved one, where then people can, keep on seeing that message on their phone, and that could be very hurtful to, to look at your text message and see a horrible remark, because some people have a hard time saying it with their mouth, where it's easier for them to just type it on their computer or on their phone, to get their point across. But maybe they never really cared about your feelings on how you were going to respond to that. And it really has a lot to how you're going to respond. Some people are really quick. If you say something cutting, with your tongue, which is like a sword, it can be like a sword, or it could, be like a nice butter knife, nice and, sweet, where you spread it with honey or something. But, words can be very powerful, and they can cut piercing in your heart. And so if you're that type, of person that you like to use your words in a cutting way, to really pierce through the heart and to hurt that person, you're going to have issues, and you're going to have problems when you're in your relationship. So it's really wise to, even though you might see something that you don't like in your loved one, whether you're married or not, husband or wife, there's ways, like you can get your point across, and there's a time for that, you don't want to tell somebody something, at the wrong time of the day or the wrong moment, and there's ways of doing that, like to sit down, make sure nobody's around, have some alone time, and let them know in the best way that you know how. You might have to rehearse it a few times to say, hey, this is really bothering me that you do this, and you might not even be aware that this is affecting me in such a negative way. And, you might have to break everything down, talk to them kind of like a kid, and let them know that, hey, this really affected me, and I'm very hurt of your words and what you said. I really don't understand why you said what you said, and what is your point, of what you said to me earlier. And where I've actually have had this many times in my life, where I've had a man that would call me a name or criticize me or down me for some reason or another. Then, later on, he might have forgot all about what he said and didn't even think one bit at all how it was going to affect me. And later on, he's like, hey, honey, you want to come to bed, and get intimate with me? And it's like, that's the last thing I'm thinking about. I'm really kind of upset with you right now. I don't want to have sex with you, now, you ruined my whole day. Why would I want to even be intimate with you right now? I want my space. Give me a break, So you have to, that happens a lot, where men can be kind of very criticizing to their women, and then later on they want to get rewarded, in women the same way. They might do it a different way, though. I'm not like this. They might say something a little sassy, and then later on they want you to, go out to the mall and, go buy them some clothes, or, take them out somewhere to a fancy, nice, their favorite restaurant, and you're like, huh, the thing that you said to me earlier all day long, So if somebody does offend you, especially in a relationship, you need to clear that up. You really want to communicate with that person, and the sooner the better, really. But you don't want to yell and scream. Sometimes that's how people do respond. They might be quick to, like, who the heck are you to tell me that? What planet are you from to say that kind of thing to me, where they might get mad and get abusive to you, because you did really hurt them hard. You hit them in a weak spot, and a lot of times a loved one is not going to expect you to be the one doing that. Or maybe they do. Maybe they know how you are, and maybe you're kind of girl or a kind of guy that always got something to say and you can't keep your mouth shut. That does happen where it might be a part of your personality where you like cutting people up with your tongue. I got family members like that. They never have anything nice to say. They're always looking for something negative to cut you up with their tongue. And not only that, they love to say it in front of other people, so it has a double impact on you, where not only they said it, but they said it in front of all your family members or even their friends or friends of the family or whoever. And, that has a way of really double slamming you. So you really, if you are not happy in a relationship, you really want to first work on it, if you can. But if you've already have tried that, how many times? And the same thing kind of keeps on repeating all over again, the same thing that you brought up years ago, and they never got right with it. They never plan on getting right with it. You might have to really think about, really, is this relationship really worth keeping? What am I doing here? Do you want to waste say if you're 50 now, do you want to waste the rest of your 50 years bitching and complaining about the one that's not even respecting you? And you're going to tell your friends, oh, I'm miserable, or you might even want to go out and have adultery, because your needs are not getting met one way or another. And like I said, everybody has different. A lot of times females need like emotional support, where men, it seems like they need a lot of sexual fulfillment, or they also have feelings, so they really need some support too, to balance themselves out. Maybe they got anger issues where if you're good, decent woman, you can help them out, and not to get their temper worse, but to give them some good sound advice. Hey, honey, maybe you need to take a rest or a break, or whatever, just to kind of pull them away from, maybe they had a horrible day at work, you don't know what your men are going through, and depending on the guys, some guys really lock up a lot of stuff inside in their mind, and they don't even communicate with you, about what's really going on in their mind. Maybe they're having family issues with their dad or mom or relatives or even friends, so you don't really know. Just because they're a guy, that doesn't mean that they have a heart. It doesn't mean that they don't have a heart or don't have feelings or that they're not sensitive, because there's guys that really hide it. They act all they're big and brave, but they are sensitive too. So you really, if you are not happy, and you might be married, don't let that stop you. If you've already done your part and you've tried to work on it, and like I said, you don't want to go to bed angry. It's good to really communicate with your loved one, whether you're married or not, boyfriend or girlfriend. But you want to express how you feel, and let them know how that bothered you and why you behaved the way you did. Maybe, maybe you're if you were a female, maybe you didn't want to have sex that night because you were hurt all day. I've had that happen to me a lot. So I do know that it does exist. That and like I said, even women, I'm not like that. I've been very kind to all my men in the past, where they might say something rude and criticize you, and and it might bring up some past issues, maybe from your childhood, maybe because you were abused, and it might bring up stuff that you went through as a kid. And then here your wife is saying the same stuff. That's why it's so important to be with somebody that you love and that you trust, because if you do open up, hopefully you do open up about stuff, that especially you got to trust that person. You don't want to be with somebody that's going to tell everybody your business, about your trauma as a kid. But if you have a wife or a husband that is really good about keeping that stuff to themselves, but you really need to make sure you can trust that person, because they can use that trauma that you've gone through and use it as a way of attacking you and making you go through some horrible stuff, because they know so much about you. They might even call you, like the same name that your parents called you, when you were a kid. So you need to make sure you're with somebody that's not going to do that, that you feel safe with them. And if you don't feel safe, please, go find don't go find somebody else, but, find a place that you can live and, get away from that situation. Because if you're not feeling safe, it's a red flag that you don't want to ignore that. Take it from somebody that knows. A lot of times I thought I was safe, and then, I trusted them, and later on things did happen, so, you don't want to wait until it's too late. So if you are not happy, whether you're married or not, don't worry about a lot of people, that's what happens. They get married and they don't want to go through the divorce, and a lot of times men, are afraid of losing all their money, because of a divorce and stuff like that. But you think about it, what's more important, your money or your heart? You really need to protect your heart. And if you've been faithful and stuff like that, a lot of people, they might not even get divorced, they might just get separated, and because they don't want to go through the whole divorce part. And it's a lot for people to go through. I've never been divorced, but I've been in a family that, like my parents got divorced, and it was a big issue with money. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. They were fighting over the land and who's going to get what, and who's going to get the children and all this stuff. And who, it was all about money. It had nothing to do with us. It was all about them. So you definitely, if you are going through, you're not happy, and you do have kids living with you, don't forget about your kids. You must remember that you do have children with you, and you need to really do things at a pace so then the kids can actually, be ready and prepared. And communication with them is so important. To explain to them what's going on, not in all details, because they're only, the kids, but, then it's teaching them that, a lot of parents, they think that they got to stay together because of the kids, but you're not teaching them anything. If, what you're teaching them is saying, hey, you once you're married, you're always married. And I'm that type of girl. Once I get married, I don't want to get, divorced, and if they're being abusive, yes, then okay, I'm on my way. But if they're not being abusive, they're stuck with me. I'm going to, I'm going to learn to work on this thing, work on the relationship, and do the best to please my man and to make sure I'm happy, that we're both happy. Not to give up, we're going to have, you're going to have issues with a loved one no matter what. There's no perfect relationship, but, communication is really the key. You want to make sure you're communicating how you feel before you go to bed. Don't go to bed angry, you might have, by the time you get done, you're going to have a mountain, a mountain so big, and you're going to get further apart, as time goes by. And yeah, then one's going to be sleeping on the couch, or if you have an extra room, you're going to, that's not the way to live. If you're, that's how I was brought up with my stepmother and my dad. They got married, and she used him, like a lot of women did. With my father, is that he was disability, and he had disability being blind, and he had land, and not that he had a lot of money, but they used him for his money, and used sex as a tool. And then, later on, my stepmother, where was she? On the couch, like, it was confusing as a kid seeing that, like wondering what the heck, how come she's not sleeping, she had a beautiful brand new home, a beautiful land, horses, all that stuff costs money, so, you do have to make sure you're happy in life. What's more important, that money, about that losing out on a divorce, and you gotta, I don't really know a lot about that with the divorce papers and stuff, but, like, is the money more important than your happiness, you could be living a life with a beautiful girl or a guy, and be happy for the rest of your life and not have to even worry about, like money or any of that stuff. You can get all that money back, like, don't let all that stop you. And, if you want to be a great example to your kids, let them know if you're miserable in a relationship, you don't have to keep staying in there but you need to work on it first. And if you've already done the work, like I said, don't go to bed angry. Communication is the key to any relationship, no matter what. So you need to open up, and it's hard, like to, or even if you got to write a letter, if but be clear, but texting is not the way to go. Maybe you need some time off just to, like to get some space if you have somewhere you can go to, if you got money where you can go somewhere and get some space, or maybe you have a friend or family member that you could stay with for a while just to have some space and think about it, because you don't want to make things worse, but really communicating would be better. You don't have to go live with somebody and split apart, because I'm not a fan of that. I've seen other people do that where they're together and then they're broken up, and then they're not living together, and then they're together again, and they're broken up again, and it just kept on going back and forth. So with me personally, I would rather communicate with your loved one and say, hey, you offended me earlier, maybe the person was trying to help you out, but, like with me, I have a tendency to, things don't come out of my mouth the right way, and I've offended somebody before, and they got really angry with me, and it didn't come out of my mouth right, and, and they should have known that. They worked with kids, and they understood that I had a learning disability, and it just did not come out of my mouth the right way, and I didn't mean to hurt the person, but I did. I offended them, and to the point that they threatened me, and that's why I ended up breaking up with them later. I felt threatened, and just because things didn't come out of my mouth the right way, and I wasn't meaning to hurt him in that way, but he took it wrong, so that relationship ended. Because of something like that. So you really need to be wise on your words that you pick, and really know your partner. A lot of times people know, how they might interpret things, but sometimes, females and males can be guilty of this, is that, maybe we interpret something wrong, and maybe we took it the wrong way or took it to the heart, and sometimes, loved ones try to help us out, but maybe they did it in a wrong way, so you do have to be wise on your words. Take it from somebody that learned the hard way. So anyway, I love all of you. I just don't want to see, I want to see people happy is what I want to see. So they say to focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. So that's what I really want. If you're not happy, that you might have to, really think about leaving that person, and don't run off and try to hurry up and find another one to replace that person. but you really want to heal and take some time alone, and spend some time with yourself and find out who you are. That way then the next time, it's a lesson. That's all it is. It's just a lesson to learn, where you don't want to repeat it though. You want to learn from your lessons. And so then the next time, you'll be wiser, learn the lesson that you learned on that one, that relationship, so you don't repeat it. And anyway, I love all of you. This is Starlight. Love and light. Peace.